Stop talking. Stop explaining yourself. Stop giving away your position. Every word you speak is ammunition handed to the enemy. And in a world of endless noise, the man who controls his silence controls the battlefield. Machiavelli understood this. Leaders who dominated history didn't waste breath proving themselves. They let others reveal their weaknesses while they stood silent, calculating, waiting. Then they struck, once and decisively. Silence is not weakness. It is a weapon, a shield, and when timed correctly, a sword sharper than any threat spoken out loud. This is the art of the silent attack. Not with speeches, not with arguments, but with silence that unsettles, disarms, and commands respect. If you want to win in business, relationships, and life, stop trying to out-talk your rivals. Learn to outweight them, out-silence them, and when the moment comes, strike without warning. Weak men can't stop talking. They brag, they justify, they explain. They fill the air with their own desperation and expose themselves in the process. Strong men understand the predator's law. The silent hunter is the deadliest. Think of a lion. It doesn't roar before the kill. It waits, motionless, hidden. Its silence terrifies prey more than noise ever could. The roar comes only after the kill, never before. This is the first law of the silent attack. Restrain yourself. Resist the urge to reveal your hand. The man who speaks less always holds more power. In business, this looks like silence during negotiations. Let the other side talk themselves into mistakes, revealing needs, weaknesses, and insecurities. They'll fill the silence, desperate for approval. And while they scramble for validation, you sit, cold, still, unreadable. That silence unsettles them. It forces them into your frame. History gives us Julius Caesar. Before his rise, he endured insults, plots, and slander from the Roman elite. He didn't respond with anger. He let them exhaust themselves. By the time he made his move, silence had sharpened his advantage. Every rival had already revealed their cards. Restraint is not passive. It's active control. Every second you withhold words, you're tightening the noose around your opponent's throat. Because here's the truth. Silence shifts the burden of action onto the other person. They feel pressure to speak, to fill the void, to explain. In doing so, they hand you leverage. Think of arguments. The weak man yells. The strong man stays calm. Silence makes the aggressor unravel. They grow louder, angrier, sloppier, exposing the insecurity you've already won against. This is how leaders maintain dominance. They don't react to every provocation. They don't waste energy defending their pride. They observe, they calculate. And when the time comes, they strike only once, but with absolute precision. So learn this. Talk less. Every unnecessary word is weakness revealed. Wait longer. Patience is power. Your silence makes others sweat. Restrain your reactions. Control your expression, your body, your presence. Let silence be the weight pressing on their chest. Words are cheap. Everyone has them. But presence? Presence is rare. And presence is a weapon. The strongest men don't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to explain to be understood. They step into a room and shift the air. Silence follows them, not because they demand it, but because their presence commands it. This is the second law of the silent attack, influence without words. Understand this. People are animals of perception. They project meaning onto you before you speak. If you control your body language, your stillness, your silence, they will imagine strength greater than anything you could describe. The less you reveal, the more they believe. Think of the cold generals of history. Napoleon standing unmoved as chaos erupted around him. His soldiers said his silence calmed them more than speeches. Or modern CEOs who walk into a room, sit at the head of the table, and say nothing for 20 minutes. By the time they speak, everyone's attention is already locked, desperate for approval. Here's how you weaponize presence. Stillness over movement. Nervous men fidget. Powerful men remain statues. Your restraint radiates authority. Eye contact without rush. Don't scan the room. Don't flinch. Hold your gaze until they break first. Every time someone looks away, you've won. Controlled breathing. Inhale slow. Exhale slower. Your calmness bleeds into the atmosphere, making others feel unsettled by their own restlessness. In business, this works like gravity. Enter the room with silence, not chatter. Sit comfortably, grounded. Others will subconsciously adjust to your rhythm. They'll talk more, gesture more, scramble to fill the silence you've chosen to leave. They're giving you control without realizing it. In relationships, presence matters more than charm. Endless words make you predictable. Mystery keeps you magnetic. Silence forces the other person to lean in, to fill the void with their own imagination. And what people imagine is always more powerful than what you could ever say. Here's the truth. Silence paired with presence is not absence. It's pressure. It makes others second-guess themselves. It creates an invisible battlefield where you've already taken the high ground. Weak men try to dominate by being the loudest. Strong men dominate by being the most controlled, by showing that nothing rattles them, by being the one still figure in a world of frantic noise. Master this, and you won't need arguments, persuasion, or endless words. Your very presence will bend people to your will. This is how kings rule courts. This is how predators control prey. And this is how you, without speaking a word, establish dominance wherever you stand. Power is not in constant motion, it's in concealment. The greatest victories in history weren't loud, predictable marches. They were ambushes. They were attacks nobody saw coming until it was too late. This is the third law of the silent attack. Conceal until the strike. Weak men can't hide. They broadcast their intentions. They post their plans. They reveal their emotions. They need recognition, and recognition destroys strategy. Powerful men live by a different code. They conceal. They deceive. They make silence their camouflage. Think of Hannibal at Cannae. Rome believed they had him surrounded, but his silence hid the trap. The Romans marched forward blindly, only to find themselves encircled, crushed, annihilated. One of the greatest ambushes in history, and it began with what Hannibal didn't reveal. Machiavelli warned rulers, never reveal your true designs. A prince who exposes his intentions becomes predictable, and the predictable man is already defeated. Secrecy, silence, and misdirection keep rivals off balance. This is not just war, it's life. In business, don't announce your every move. Don't share your goals until they're already secured. Let competitors think you're inactive while you prepare silently. Then launch, fast, decisive, leaving them scrambling in shock. In relationships, the same law applies. Don't be the open book. Don't reveal your every thought, every weakness, every plan. Hold back, conceal. Let silence create uncertainty. People respect and fear the unknown. Here's how to master the ambush mindset. Conceal intentions. Speak less about your goals. Let results reveal them. Control emotion. Never show anger, fear, or desperation. Hide them behind silence until you decide to weaponize them. Delay the strike. Patience is power. When rivals believe you've given up, your sudden move destroys them twice, in reality and in morale. Remember, the ambush is not about striking constantly. It's about striking once with maximum effect. The loud man wastes energy. The silent man collects it, focuses it, and releases it like a blade across the throat of his enemy. The lesson is simple. Don't be predictable. Don't be visible. Conceal until the strike. And when the moment comes, make it lethal. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure, and when used correctly, silence is intimidation. This is the fourth law of the silent attack. Use silence to break them before the battle even begins. Weak men rush to fill silence. They fear it. They scramble to talk, explain, and justify. But powerful men, they weaponize it. They sit still. They say nothing. And they let the silence tighten like a vice around their enemy's mind. Think of interrogations. The strongest tactic isn't shouting, it's silence. The interrogator asks one question, then waits. Minutes pass. The suspect sweats. He fills the silence with words, excuses, confessions. Silence makes the weak man destroy himself. In business, silence at the negotiation table is deadly. You drop your offer, and then you say nothing. The other side panics. They talk more, reveal more, compromise more. They feel the silence as judgment, as rejection, as dominance. And you've already won. In relationships, silence is equally potent. Instead of reacting to provocation, you remain calm, unreadable. Your silence forces the other person to question themselves. Doubt creeps in. They reveal more of their true feelings than you ever asked for. Machiavelli understood that appearances govern reality. Silence appears like strength. It projects confidence, control, mystery. People fear what they don't understand, and silence cloaks you in that aura of the unknown. Here's how you turn silence into psychological warfare. Pause strategically. After a statement, let silence hang. The weight makes your words echo louder. Hold the stare. Look without blinking. Your silence will make others fidget, expose, or retreat. Resist reaction. When provoked, stay silent. Your lack of response is more terrifying than anger. Consider this. A man who yells shows emotion. A man who argues shows vulnerability. But a man who sits silent, staring, calm, he is unreadable. He is dangerous. This is why the most feared leaders of history often said less than their rivals. Their silence wasn't weakness, it was intimidation. Their enemies imagined far worse than any words could describe. Because silence is not passive, it's active domination. It forces your opponent to battle their own thoughts, their own fear, their own insecurity. And that's the fight they always lose. The lesson is clear. Don't just speak less. Make your silence heavy. Let it hang over them like a blade. Let them sweat. Let them crack. Because silence, when used as a weapon, doesn't just intimidate. It destroys. True power is not in orders. True power is in influence so deep, so silent, that others move on your behalf without knowing why. This is the fifth law of the silent attack: control without command. The loud leader issues constant orders. He barks, he demands, he screams. But this noise reveals insecurity. The silent leader doesn't need to speak, because his presence, his silence, his aura already directs the flow of action. Think of Genghis Khan. He didn't micromanage every battle. His generals carried out his vision instinctively because his silence created a framework of fear, respect, and expectation. The less he spoke, the more his men projected his will. Or look at modern power. The CEO who sits silent at the table while his executives debate furiously. He doesn't intervene. He lets them fight. And in the silence, they bend toward what they think he wants. His silence shapes reality more than words ever could. This is influence at its highest level, making people police themselves, shift themselves, bend themselves, without you lifting a finger. Here's how you master it. Create mystery. The less you reveal, the more others interpret. They project onto you the strength, wisdom, or menace they imagine. Control absence. Silence isn't just in presence. Your deliberate absence from meetings, conversations, or debates makes others adjust around you. They speculate, they adapt. You're controlling from the shadows. Shape the frame. Instead of direct orders, create environments where silence signals approval or disapproval. People will adjust without confrontation. This is what Machiavelli hinted at when he wrote that rulers must appear more than they are. Your silence allows others to construct that appearance for you, one that serves your power. And here's the truth. A man who commands without words is more feared, more respected, and more remembered than one who shouts. Because silence doesn't just echo. It embeds itself into the minds of others, shaping their behavior long after you've left the room. So stop thinking power is in volume. Stop thinking control is in shouting, forcing, or over-explaining. The invisible hand of silence moves faster, deeper, and with more permanence. A single word from you, after long silence, will feel like law. A single gesture, after long restraint, will be obeyed like instinct. This is the highest art of the silent attack. Not to fight, not to intimidate, but to control without command. In the end, silence is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is victory. The loud fall to exhaustion. The reactive reveal their hand. The desperate choke on their own words. But the silent man, he endures. He sharpens. He dictates without moving. He walks into a room and bends it without a syllable. His enemies collapse into paranoia, inventing threats that were never spoken. His allies move with caution, never sure if they've pleased him or provoked him. This is the cold victory of silence. Your absence haunts. Your presence dominates. Your restraint enslaves. The world is addicted to noise. Everyone is shouting, posting, preaching, explaining. But those who master silence weaponize the one thing the herd cannot understand: emptiness. And in that emptiness, you become untouchable. No one can predict you. No one can box you in. No one can defend against the attack that never announces itself. That is why kings, conquerors, and ruthless strategists always knew: the greatest blade is the one you never draw. The greatest attack is the one they imagine. Remember this: silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power. Wield it, and you don't just win battles. You win without fighting at all.